Now, with economic pressures mounting and the need for fiscal stability, many people, of course, are eager to see what adjustments, if any, will be made in this revised budget. Let's continue making sense of it all. Bring in now Economist Xhanti Payi, who's with us via our video link. Xhanti, great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for making time during these unprecedented times. You know, 3 weeks ago, we sat with a scenario where we weren't really sure whether or not there would be an increase in value-added tax. And I'm only prefacing my question with that because it feels like 3 weeks later, we kind of landed up where we were just about a month ago. To what extent do you reckon the discussion has moved over the past couple of days?
Well, it seems that everybody, and good afternoon. I think everybody seems to, did I say good morning? It seems that everybody's still where they were because the challenges have not changed. We are still facing the same challenges we faced 3 weeks ago, and so that hasn't changed. And the real issue really is about what compromise we have to make to meet those challenges. And I think that's what the finance minister started out with as he's been going about this. And he also last year, you know, that unfortunately there are what he calls trade-offs. And it seems that we are not willing to make those trade-offs, and perhaps at least from the information that's leaking. So we're going to have to find out later today whether or not there was some progress. But from everything and all the information that has been out there, doesn't look like anybody is willing to make the trade-offs, but nobody's actually also willing to do what is necessary.
Right. And I suppose we can speak about what you reckon is necessary at this point. It doesn't seem, from my vantage point, there's a way out of this without some kind of trade-off, without some way of making sure that we don't necessarily have to borrow in order to make sure that we fulfill government spending plans.
Look, unfortunately, if one does not, in this environment, I was listening to the professor speaking earlier, and I thought that he was making some interesting points. But certainly, one has to be very realistic to think, and I think maybe this is where I would challenge you a little bit, is that if you are saying that you can't increase taxes, then you must say, because actually you're going to constrain economic growth or economic expansion. If you reduce spending, that also leads to the same thing. So where he was giving some suggestions around that, and I think one of the things that PwC we've debated has always been, you know, if we think about how do we actually move forward, one has to think about the fact that, unfortunately, in a space where you are this constrained, you have to make some difficult choices, and whether you are postponing that spending. So you are saying, well, unfortunately, this year, we may not be able to actually say we will postpone it for 3 years down the line when things are a little bit better, because unfortunately, the issue is that the funds do not exist as we sit here. So it's either you increase taxes or you borrow or you reduce spending. So spending reduction also has the same implication because it has the impact of actually, constraining the economy depending on where you reduce it as well. But that you have to actually reduce spending in order for us to actually be in a safer space. And all of these have similar implications because increasing that tax removes money from the hands of consumers, but also cutting spending does the same, because remember, you may be cutting spending, for example, to say building houses or infrastructure. You may be cutting spending from public services. You may be cutting spending from teachers and doctors. And remember, teachers and doctors spend money in the economy, and that's why their incomes are also important. If you don't increase their salaries, again, you are not giving that impetus into the economy. So there isn't a way that you can say, if we don't increase tax, then we actually are putting money into the economy. And the only other way to do this is to borrow. And that actually would present significant dangers into the economy, given that already we have been downgraded. There's an opportunity there for further downgrades. And I think many people don't understand that actually we could further be downgraded, and that could also have really, really serious implications that could be reverberating not for this coming year, but for many years to come.
Yeah, another point I thought you were going to make around cutting of spending is on South Africa's social welfare system. In fact, if the Sunday papers are anything to go by, that's what the finance minister presented as the ultimatum. It's either we reduced the social relief of the stress grant or, in fact, we increased taxes. The question, of course, is if you were to cut spending on social welfare, there's real issues around the multiplier effect that comes from people being able to spend money they wouldn't otherwise have.
Absolutely, and this is exactly what I was trying to make. And I think the finance minister, from the first budget that was not presented, one of the key things started with was to say, we are increasing this tax to avoid, he said, we agree with that, to avoid reducing our social spending, also what the Americans are calling entitlement. So we are trying to avoid actually taking away those grants or reducing those grants. In fact, one of the things that they are trying to do is to expand the grants. So it's critical, but again, as I said, all of government spending is important because it actually puts money in the hands of people, whether it's putting money in the hands of SMEs, whether it's putting money in the hands of big business who hire people, whether it's putting money, wherever the government puts in money, it actually is contributing to spending. So it's very difficult to see which avenues do not put money into the hands of people, because remember also where we are discussing the public, remember one of the things that we introduced was that the expanded public works program, that again is putting money into the hands of people. So all government spending does the same thing. And so the danger here is where are the multipliers, as you say, where are the most insignificant multipliers? Some people will say it's in manufacturing, it's in construction, because of course in construction, all of the inputs come from other parts of the economy. You also hire more people, so you do see those multipliers stronger. So maybe a focus is on infrastructure. Again, the point is you have got to find ways where you're going to have the most success. But that invites another question, of course, whether or not the money actually reaches those places. But that's another discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. A rock and a hard place is just one of the many cliches I imagine we're going to hear about throughout the course of this day. Xhanti Payi, for now, thanks very much indeed. Xhanti, of course, is a senior economist with PwC. We appreciate the time.